we are participating as Yoga Bharati in Hindu University of America courses. I would like Yoga Shri N.V. Raghuram, who is our Raghuram Ji is what we call him. He's our chairman and also has a very immense experience for the last 4 or 5 decades giving discourses on yoga, and he's our spiritual leader, head, mentor, as well as the chairman of Yoga Bharati. And he has traveled wide into almost 50 countries, giving discourses on yoga, and he started Yoga Bharati is his brainchild, I should say. And we would like the webinar to begin by his talk, on what is holistic yoga. So Raghuramji, can you hear us?
Yes, Ashwini.
Okay. I will the slide. I'll put the slide on, and you can begin. So this is the confidentiality statement. I think this is the legal statement here. Please, we'll begin with this. Should we spend some time on that confidentiality slide?
No, go ahead, please.
Okay. All right, Raghuramji, you are on, and the slide is on.
Namaste, everybody. Thank you so much for giving me a chance on this webinar, particularly on yoga. And I'll be very happy to share a few ideas with you on this idea of yoga. Yoga is a science which has been way of life ever since this particular culture in India started, maybe several thousands of years, definitely much before 5,000 years. And it has been very vibrant and useful to the people. That's the reason why what started almost like say 8,000-9,000 years old continued to be even today vibrant in this particular culture. And now it is being spread to the rest of the world. And that's also a very important aspect of it. Now, quickly, when I go through the word called yoga, in Sanskrit language, every word has a root letter. So actually, this root letter from which that word yoga comes is from yuj. And yuj has 3 different applications, and that's what is in yoga that he has taken. One is that yuj dhatu, which we call it as, and from that root letter dhatu, yuj, one application is yujyate. Yujyate means that yoking together or bringing them together or joining together. This is what yujyate. Another important aspect of yuj is also as yogyata. That means to say being fit, being eligible, or gaining the control. That's what is yogyata. Yuj, also the root for that. The third important thing is yukti, that means to say knack, a way by which that you can achieve. It also comes from yuj. So all these 3 applications are taken in the field of yoga in applications here. Now we see that several places yoga has been defined in several ways, particularly depending upon that condition that yoga has been defined. And the first thing is that you find it in Yoga Vasishta, where Rama was in the state of despondency or depression. He just did not know, motivated by the world outside, did not know what to say, what to do. That's what he says to Vishwamitra. He says that, I have no interest in living. I have no interest in death also. That means I am totally depressed. And that's a condition where Vasishta had to bring him back into all the opening up his mind. And that's where he says, they gave the definition, mind is simply oscillating and disturbed. So therefore, basically you need to calm down the mind, develop the mastery over the mind. That's what he says as the mana prashamana upayaha yoga ityabhidhyate. Calm down your mind. Once you are in the prashamana state, you will be able to come out of this particular depression. Therefore, the definition for that yoga he gives as mana prashamana upaya. The whole of Yoga Vasishta deals with that particular aspect of it in various sutras there. The second thing is what we have as the definition by Krishna It was in the battlefield. You can see Arjuna's condition. He was actually dodging between whether to fight the war, which is supposed to be the responsibility. On the other hand, on the other side, he has all his people in the war field on both the sides. And therefore, that he is torn between these two ideas, not able to take a decision. Therefore, he says that I am really clouded by my own thoughts. Therefore, Krishna gives a different definition of yoga as a means by which that he can get back into the activity. Samatvam yoga uchyate is one activity. Both these things are equal. You don't have to worry about which is right, which is wrong. The second thing he says, yogaha karmasu kaushalam. One of the very important definitions which Krishna gives about yoga. Yoga means basically it is while doing an activity, you are to be one pointed, one unit, and that's how you need to do it. Whereas when later on, Patanjali has given us, Krishna has given about 200 years back, and Rama has given, Vasishtha has given 6,700 years ago, historically. Maharshi Patanjali, the recent one, who has given basically the science of yoga. That means to say, like the way that geometry was always in the nature, and then Euclid has given us the formulae for geometry. Like that, yoga has always been there in the culture, but Patanjali is one person who gave us the formulae. It's very beautifully written 195 formulae that he has given, and this is called as Yoga Sutras. And then because he is giving that Yoga Sutras, in the very second sutra itself, he gives us the definition. That's what is Chitta Vritti Nirodha. He is like a teacher giving a master, giving the disciple the message. It's not because of any other conditions, but yoga as a science he deals with. There he gives this idea of Chitta Vritti Nirodha. That's what is the idea. Now this particular definition has a very beautiful idea behind it. According to Patanjali, when you look at human being is nothing but the energy or the energy activity that is going on. And this activity is two-pronged, two direction. One is an activity which is directed outwardly, and that's supposed to be prana. And the one that is directed inwardly, like for example, you are thinking, memorizing, ego, etc., etc. All these things he calls it as chitta. So prana and the chitta, these are the two things in between, which are activity portion, which is called as vritti. On one side that you have the world, on the other side and yourself. That's why these activities will take us outwardly towards the world, and that's what the training in the world that does for us all the time. That you are interacting in the world, you are thinking about it, you are scheming, planning, everything belongs to the world outside. But then you are there behind, and that a journey going towards outside is itaratraha, and when you get back to yourself, that's what is Swarupa. So therefore, Patanjali gives us the idea that world trains you to go outside into the world enough, but at the same time, you need to have your freedom to get back to yourself. So that next time when you go freshly, as yourself you go outside. This is what is the idea of Chitta Vritti Nirodha. When he said Chitta Vritti Nirodha, he did not mean that vritti is bad. He meant only that vritti is the way that the world you use, and vritti nirodha is the way that you go back to yourself. When you calm down the vrittis, when you quieten the vrittis, when you have that capacity to see that the mind activity has calmed down, then you can go to Swarupa. When Patanjali calls it as Chitta Vritti Nirodha, he has the idea in that your intellect, your ego, and your experience, all these things are involved. That's why when he gives us the Samadhi Pada, where he says that you calm down your mind, but at the same time, you come out of the intellect. That's what he says that Nirvitarka Samadhi, Vitarka is not there, Vichara is not there. Then he says Asmita is the way that we feel the ego, and you can come out of it. Asmita, you come out of that. And then finally you get back to yourself. This is journey he gives us. So in this way, when you look at it, on one side that it is spirit, on the other side it is the world. And the more and more that you identify with the world, that you are worldly person. And the more and more that you identify with your nature, which is spirit, that's like a spiritual person. Therefore, yoga is a schematic idea which gives us the step-by-step evolution towards being spiritual. In that sense, yoga text is supposed to be, a practice is supposed to be, a science is supposed to be something which will take us toward spirituality. You cannot separate yoga from spirituality. That is what is the basic idea is given. If we have not adapted this particular posture and took yoga just as some postures, or maybe some real breathing exercises, or maybe yoga for headache, yoga for some back pain, neck pain, this and that, or yoga for headache, either you have a headache or you are a headache. All these things, that means yes, shorten the whole of yoga to a small little portion. That may be good for the initial stage.
Raghuramji, just 1 second.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm going to mute all and kindly unmute again, okay? Somebody's... yeah, you can unmute now. And
yeah. Okay. So, by the way that when we do this kind of a thing, that yoga for this and that, it may be useful at a local level, but then let's not from the Hindu University platform or the webinar, let us not stop at the level of that small little simple applications of yoga. Let's make this yoga journey as a wonderful journey that our culture has given for us. But then the practices of yoga, when you come to, there are so many that are there, innumerable number, and the meditation is also part of yoga, like that they are there. So when any teacher has to give us yoga, he has to give a small little group of things, a part of few things put together in the formal for formulae. That's why today in the market we have so many different formulae, Hatha Yoga, Bikram Yoga, and then Ashtanga Yoga, Kriya Yoga. They are not different in the sense that practices may be different, but purpose, goal, idea is the same. And Yoga Bharati and then our Hindu University of America, idea is to see that how we can take this yoga holistically and take it forward so that it will be useful for the mankind. So with this few words, I wish you all the best, all the people who are participating in yoga, to see that you can make the best use of this particular course, and we take this course further on to give you various ideas in the field of yoga. Once again, thank you all so much. Thank you. Namaste.
So, somebody's got some background noise. Can you kindly mute yourself, please? Okay, I'm going to mute everybody again. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Raghuramji. That was a great way to begin the sessions of yoga on Hindu University of America platform. So having now understood what is holistic yoga that we will be continuing to talk in this lecture, we will move on to the next slide, which is basically the slide on what we call Panchakosha, the 5-sheathed personality. This is the basic core concept from where we begin all of the studies. We base on this concept of Panchakosha. This, according to yogic and Vedantic scriptures, we exist as 5-sheathed personality called Panchakosha. The first layer in this is Annamaya Kosha, the physical body. And this is basically the layer of body that we all see and that we all use to act both through karmendriyas, the organ of action, and we also perceive the world through jnanendriyas, the organs of perception, the eyes, ears, nose, and so forth. So this is Annamaya Kosha. Then deep within this, within our body, is Pranamaya Kosha, the life force. That life force that distinguishes between from the living to the dead. That is, that distinguishing factor is prana, that which sustains us, that which keeps us going, as opposed to the body degenerating. That is pranamaya kosha, where we have the layer which helps us act, which helps us take the food, digest, breathe, and so forth, and all the organs that work to keep us, to fight the bacteria from attacking the body and so forth. That is pranamaya kosha. And this, the distinguishing factor, yet another one, is while annamaya kosha helps us act in the world, pranamaya kosha gives us the energy to act in the world. And within that, deeper than that, is the manomaya kosha, the emotional body, we call it, mental layer, the mind, which is the layer that helps us think, or rather I should say feel, the likes, the dislikes, the love, the hate, all of these dualistic feeling that we have within us come from the manomaya kosha. And yoga especially attaches a very big importance to this layer, because the troubles also begin from this layer, and we address this layer primarily to be able to establish health at all the levels of our personality, all the 5 levels. So this is manomaya kosha, the kosha of emotions. Within and deeper within that, or rather I should say the boss of that, is intellect, or vijnanamaya kosha, the intellect sheath. And this intellect sheath is what distinguishes even us from the animals. Although they do have intellect, it's not like they don't. When the emotions say ask for certain things, or say that I want to grab something, let's say a flower, then the intellect kicks in that says, no, this is not your flower, so you're not going to pick this. And we listen to the intellect. If we are if we are strong, if we are stable, then intellect is the one that guides the manomaya kosha. So that is why it's deeper, it's higher in its faculty. And then much deeper than all of this is anandamaya kosha, or the bliss layer. What that means is that when you silence all these outer layers, anandamaya kosha is the one that exists, that says, that is like a pure consciousness layer, which basically is there all the time, and it is the deepest layer. And when you touch this layer, which you do pretty much every day in your deep sleep, sushupti, and when you come out of that, you feel a sense of bliss, you feel ananda, and hence the name anandamaya kosha for this layer. So this is the basic concept, the panchakosha. Are these koshas any layers that can be sort of dissected and bisected? No, it's basically conceptual, like any other concepts in the Eastern healing methodologies or spiritual techniques. All of these are conceptual layers, and they are also not watertight compartments, and they all coexist. At all times, I live in all these koshas, but the deeper I go, the happier I feel. And that's the idea. And the goal of yoga is to help us touch the deeper layers of our personality. Now, having understood Panchakosha as a Panchakosha Viveka is the word here that I would like to use. Having understood that, now what is integrated approach of yoga, and what is it that we do to help us, let's say, although Raghuramji clearly said that it's not just the back pain, it's not just the yoga is not done just for physical ailments as such, or to address wellness at physical level. We would like to still, in this presentation especially, I would like to bring some of these concepts as well, Raghuramji, to address some of these ailments as well. But let me just quickly define what is holistic health. When we talk about health, it is not just the absence of diseases, but it is also establishing positive state of well-being at all these 5 levels of personality: the annamaya kosha, pranamaya kosha, manomaya kosha, vijnanamaya kosha, and anandamaya kosha. And not only yogic lore, but also United Nations has come out with a definition similar to this, which says health is not the absence of diseases, but it is a positive state of well-being at physical, mental, social, and later on they even added spiritual levels of personality. So that is why although the goal of yoga is much deeper than that, it is a multifaceted discipline offering different things to different people based on what they are, what they want, what is their expectation and their interest. And while some may look for yoga for their, health, others may look for yoga for, their spiritual journey or to attain moksha, nirvana. All of these, each and every goal is valid and important, and there's nothing higher or lower. Let's take yoga, this particular yogic studies, if you're interested, to come and take it in any possible, with any expectation, and you will still be able to make strides into that area. Having said that, now let's come to what is integrated approach of yoga. At all these levels of personalities, at Annamaya Kosha and Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, and Anandamaya Kosha, we have yoga offers techniques that is going to help you transcend these layers. So at Annamaya Kosha, we have asanas, kriyas, the sattvic diet, bandhas and mudras that help you to transcend physical layer. What does transcend word mean? Basically, if you want to be calm, if you want to have peace, what happens for the most part if we are not peaceful at the physical level? There are pains, the aches, any kind of disturbance at the physical level that won't let us go into deeper levels of being ananda, being in bliss, being happy. When there is pain, when there is discomfort, I'm not going to be peaceful. So it prevents us from touching our deeper layers of happiness. And who doesn't want to be happy? So the point here is that the asanas, kriyas, and good diet and bandhas and practices like that help us to be physically fit so that we can go to the deeper layers of our personality. And so that is Annamaya Kosha. At Pranamaya Kosha, when there is disturbance, we are not breathing well, we are not digesting the food very well, our autonomic nervous system has problems with that means we have, it also affects the mind layer, and our endocrine system may be not functioning well. So the deeper levels, the vital sheath of our body is not doing well, which means we are not robust in our health. So that is Pranamaya Kosha, and the practices of pranayama help us to transcend this layer, and we start becoming more and more healthier at these two layers. Now coming to the most important layer, which is Manomaya Kosha. So to calm down the mind that is always the monkey mind that we have, wanting various things, going after different new things, that the new desires or the existing desires, the vasanas as we call it, the tendency of the mind to constantly seek pleasure in the material world. To calm down that aspect of mind, we have meditation techniques, bhajans and karma yoga that helps us calm down at all times, be in peace. So that is, who doesn't want that again? Since that is the source of the problem for the most part for all of us, that we always are looking for something for happiness, knowing, or rather not knowing, that happiness is within us. The whole idea here is to bring ourselves to that deeper layer, which is Anandamaya Kosha, the state of happiness. Then coming to the Vijnanamaya Kosha, although we know very well that, say for example, I'm stuck in a traffic and I know that I cannot help it, and yet the mind keeps getting disturbed and we keep being unhappy that why am I stuck in traffic? Vijnanamaya Kosha, or the intellect, kicks in at that point and says, hey, it's okay, let it go. So that kind of analysis of, does it help me to worry? Or what is happiness again? Is it something that is deep within me, or is it something that is coming from outside? These are some of the questions that Vijnanamaya Kosha constantly is asking and is helping us. We just don't listen to it because we are so stuck in various other worries that we have at the mind layer for the most part. So helping us tap into this intellect sheath is what we do in Vijnanamaya Kosha, that is happiness analysis, the Ananda Mimamsa as they call it, or yogic coaching that we do in using yoga as the method, will help us to transcend intellect. And much deeper within this is Anandamaya Kosha, where we are in touch with this bliss. And now how do we maintain this? How do we reside in that Anandamaya Kosha? The tendencies that bring us constantly back into the mind layer, into the world. How do we remove that and stay in peace is the practice of Anandamaya Kosha. So that is the integrated approach that we follow. And now coming to 4 streams of yoga. Yoga is not just the practice on the mat or practice of yoga, asanas and meditation and asana and meditation and pranayama. It's more than that. It is, yoga is done 24/7. And one thing that we do pretty much throughout the day is karma yoga. So bringing yoga into actions. How do we perform actions with happiness as opposed to with expectations, with the loads of desires and tension of achieving those is, this is karma yoga, where you learn to just do work happily. That is karma yoga. Bhakti yoga is a yoga of love, surrender. What is, again, when we say love, we bring a lot of expectation and lot of business-like love, where I give something and I expect something. Whereas when it comes to bhakti yoga, it's love without any conditions. And I would like to say that Raghuramji is here, and talking even the word bhakti yoga in front of him is kind of, I hesitate, because when he talks on bhakti, it's just a total bliss. We all go into a state of bliss. So bhakti will explain someday, hopefully, in a much, much grander way. So here I'm just introducing these topics. And bhakti is about love. It's not about religion. It's not about sitting and going into a temple and doing a ritual alone. Yes, that involves bhakti. Bhakti involves that too, but doesn't have to be that. So your unconditional love to the most divine thing out there, whether you believe in it or not, picking up any object of love, such as, say, nature, such as, serving the poor, taking them as God, samashti as God, which means the whole world as God. In whatever way you take God, unconditionally loving that, and then, of course, acceptance or surrender, again, is the word that especially in the West, we don't like to surrender to anything. We like to be fully in control. But what we don't know, what is really counterintuitive, is that when you accept something, when you surrender, you are much more in control than when you think you are in control. So that idea, of course, will come as you practice bhakti yoga, and then as you listen to the talks on bhakti yoga. So now the next one is jnana yoga, which is using the intellect to calm down the mind. We are all intelligent beings here, constantly analyzing things. And can we analyze in a different way? That is, can we reflect on what is happiness? Can we contemplate on what is life and what is the temporal nature of this world? And can we see what is it that I am? Who am I? The question, who am I? Reflection on that, contemplating and understanding what is Ananda is constantly, that is not simply sitting one day and doing that reflection and then going back to our usual course, but making that Jnana Yoga as a lifestyle itself is a practice of yoga here. And Raja Yoga, we all know that it's a practice of yoga and meditation to reach that samadhi. So all these 4 streams of yoga are actually, they work in tandem with each other, and they're again not watertight compartments. You cannot practice Raj Yoga without some amount of bhakti and some amount of contemplation and reflection and some amount of good karma yoga anyway. So whichever is the primary path that you take, again, some people say, I'm not the person who would like to do asanas and all. I don't like doing asanas. That's fine if you are doing bhakti yoga as a primary practice and yet maintain a discipline of certain type. That discipline itself is Raj Yoga, and your bhakti can be your primary path. So no matter what path of yoga you would like to take, all the other streams of yoga follow the practice. As Swami Vivekananda said, each soul is potentially divine. The word is potentially divine. Yes, we are all divine, but then only when we really access that divinity within us. And how do we do that? The goal of life, as he says, is to manifest that divinity within us by controlling nature, internal and external. Do it by work, which is karma yoga, worship, bhakti yoga, philosophy, jnana yoga, or psychic control, that is controlling the mind, disciplining the mind, that is Raj Yoga. By one or more or all of these, and be free, he says. And so we follow this. This is the punchline that we have in our practice of yoga. Now, coming to yoga studies itself. So we are here in this webinar to explore yoga studies with Hindu University of America. So we have to understand what is yoga study, what are these yoga studies, and why is it an important discipline? And yes, there are yoga studios out there everywhere, in every corner of US and of course everywhere else also. Now, what are we doing here? Why should we be even following this yoga studies, and what are we bringing? So to come up with that, we have been, here are some slides that show you what are the different interests, or what are the different problems that one may have, and how do we address that. So yoga studies could be for if you are stressed. Are you stressed? Of course, I am sure if we ask everybody to raise their hands, there won't be one single person who doesn't want to raise the hand here. So yoga is an impeccable tool to handle stress at all levels and lead you to stress-free life. As we just talked about, what is holistic yoga? The goal of that is to establish peace at all levels. So naturally, it is by its very nature geared towards addressing stress. Now, are you a parent? This is the most important question here, because when we want to drive a car, we want a license to drive the car, because they say, oh, you are putting lives in danger. And when I want to be a parent, I have lives that I'm putting in much bigger danger if I don't know how to lead a good stress-free parenting. Why? Because if I'm stressed out, I'm not going to treat my children well. Although I may smile at them, there is still those Freudian slips in many ways that we bring our tension, our stress into our children's upbringing, and that stress carries with them when we have expectations, unnecessary, unreasonable expectations, which we put on them unknowingly, so be it. But still, we constantly pass on our stress because we don't know what is success ourselves, what is peace ourselves, how to get happiness ourselves. So we expect them to behave the way, or carry our own vasanas, our own tendencies, although it is not intentional in many cases. So in my view at least, yoga is a great license to that stress-free parenting and to bring up stress-free children. So that is then another benefit of yoga. Are you having any chronic ailments? Again, this is in the modern world, every one of us is suffering from small something or the other, and that is also psychosomatic in many cases. So practicing yoga definitely helps us. But many people say, hey, I'm practicing yoga, I go to 24-hour fitness, I do whatever, and that is all fine, that is needed. But then at some point, you will plateau that, and you would need something deeper as a motivation, intrinsic motivation, to be able to practice with that awareness. Yoga is not an exercise, it's a deeper mental discipline to constantly engage our mind with a much deeper motivation. And that will only happen if you constantly update yourself with the concepts of yoga, philosophy of yoga. And since it's a path to sadhana, you need that additional knowledge, as well as I would say soaking into the knowledge, not simply once listening to the talk and saying, yeah, I'm done. But that won't happen. Mind has its tendencies, and you constantly come back to that knowledge. So then the other reasons for taking up yoga studies is a lifestyle change. Again, whether you have a quarter life crisis or a half life crisis, or any crisis for that matter, people do tend to go to this. Now, I did not hear about quarter life crisis before, but now we are beginning to feel that also. By 2025, people have tried everything, and they're tired of social get-togethers, the same junk food and the same junk alcohol or whatever it could be. So if you are tired of those, then look to yoga, because you will build a good network of people, and you have a good hobby and you will that constantly helps you, motivates you to be healthy as well as to be happy. That is one reason to take up yoga studies. And then a stress-free job. If you are looking for yoga as a career, there cannot be a better job than, of course, it pays. It may not pay IT salary, but it sure pays more than what money can give you. I would say that it's a great. Also, if you're a student or you you want to have yoga as a simply yet an addition, it's a great addition to your resume, if not anything. So here is a job, if you take up as a job, that keeps your family together, that gives you constant peace into you and your mind, as well as your family's peace. Or if you're a student, it's a great addition to your resume. And nowadays in Bay Area, many youth take up yoga studies because they want it on their resume before they apply for college, because they would like to, they have seen that when they write about yoga, the chances of getting good school are definitely better. And although that's definitely not the sole reason for you to do yoga or to take up yoga studies. And then it's a great addition to your healthcare or research career. If you're one of those healthcare practitioners, or you'd like to take up research as a career in healthcare, then add yoga to that list. So now doctors are generously suggesting yoga. Just 10 years ago, we would go and talk to the doctors and they would say, yeah, I heard about yoga, but that's not my field. But now they are very actively suggesting yoga, even in the Bay Area, and we conduct a lot of different yoga sessions to even in the hospitals these days. That has definitely changed, and yoga is now a much wanted discipline in all healthcare systems. So now coming to Yoga Bharati itself, thank you to Hindu University of America for inviting us to be on your platform. We are excited about this opportunity. Yoga Bharati is a non-profit organization with an aim to spread holistic yoga. Yes, that is the reason we exist, to bring the deeper concepts of yoga and philosophy. And as you can see here, it's a well-being at physical, mental, social, and spiritual levels, which is the list that we got from United Nations definition of health. And we are associated with Swami Vivekananda Yoga Research Foundation, S-VYASA. Many of you might have heard of this. It's a premier university in yoga, as well as a 150-bed healthcare center, the Arogya Dhama, and I think that number of 150 might have increased recently. There's more happening there, and more buildings are coming up, and they're expanding as well. And they have produced more than 500 research papers on yoga's efficacy in therapy needs and other applications in wellness. We are very excited to be bringing these courses on HUA platform, because we believe that these are some of the best practices. Both they are classical in nature, which means they are time tested, as well as they are tested using modern research. So the best of East and West is what S-VYASA has been bringing, and we have been bringing those techniques to address many of the ailments as well as for wellness. So we combine that holistic classical yoga practices with evidence-based approach. Now coming to the courses themselves that we are offering, I will spend some time on that and then we'll take questions. So the audience group for yoga studies, simply passionate beginners, or you could be yoga teachers from different schools, or healthcare professionals and researchers. These are three groups of people that we today are trying to address to. And what are your questions? You may just be in this yoga studies just to get some knowledge, to be able to get some peace and health and happiness, or as a sadhaka, or you would be a holistic yoga teacher. You want to be a holistic yoga teacher. You may be a teacher from a different school and want a holistic yoga course, or you want to you're looking at some yoga as therapy. You want to be a yoga therapist for career, or for being a volunteer in that field. Or you would be interested in a research, and you want to heal the world. You want to change the world by healing, in being in a healing tradition. Now coming to the course that we are offering, which is the Introduction to Holistic Yoga. It's a 2-credit course. We are offering this in winter 2020. The objective of this course is to learn basic yogic edicts, the yama niyama, and the practices of breath synchronized movements. We call them breath and body synchronization, using how to breathe well, how to expand lungs, and how to also move with the breath. And then asanas, pranayama, and meditation, the whole Ashtanga yoga. We also, in this course, you will be understanding the scope and relevance of yoga philosophy and how to apply them. And you will learn to apply yoga practices and concepts to manage your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health, and to gain some clarity on teachings of Bhagavad Gita and its in relation to practicing yoga. What are the paths to yoga courses here that we would like to explore offering based on your interest? Are you interested in making yoga a bigger part of your life or work? In that case, you would start with Introduction to Holistic Yoga, then move to, we also will be offering at some point soon, Yoga Foundation for Holistic Health as the course. That's more like a information only, meaning not a certification course per se, although we would be giving a certificate to you. It's more for the self-development and for to address your health. And then also Foundation for Holistic Therapeutic Yoga, which means we give some knowledge of how to address yoga to your specific needs. So this is one path. And then if you're interested in becoming a yoga instructor or a therapist, and please understand, there are many yoga teachers even on this webinar who are, they may not necessarily want, you may not necessarily want yoga as a career, but you can still be a yoga teacher and teach your neighborhood or community as a hobby, weekend hobby or evening hobby. And many, many yoga teachers within Yoga Bharati do that. So if you're interested in something like that, you still begin with Introduction to Holistic Yoga, and then you get Holistic Yoga training, teacher training, and which is basically the superset of Yoga Foundation for Holistic Health, which is was covered in the top here. So you do more than, a little more, quite a bit more than that to become holistic yoga teacher. And then you move into the next course, which is Diploma in Yoga Therapy. And that's the path. And if you're already a certified yoga teacher looking to become a holistic yoga teacher or yoga therapist, then you will still start with Introduction to Holistic Yoga as a bridge course. And then from there, you move on to Foundation for Holistic Therapeutic Yoga, which is a foundation course in the beginning, which is actually part of Diploma in Yoga Therapy. So these are the paths we have. And the course, I'll quickly go through this and open for questions, because I know that we cannot totally give you the entire picture without confusing you, especially if we did that in a very short time. But these flowcharts will just give you a landscape of what we are planning to do here. But you would probably, at this point, we are only offering Introduction to Holistic Yoga. So we can ask, the reason for giving all this is so that you know that there is a path for much bigger courses and studies here. So one path would be just the self-development path, which is Introduction to Holistic Yoga, then Yoga Foundation for Holistic Health, and Foundation for Holistic Therapeutic Yoga on the right side, if you see. Then the next one would be the Diploma in Yoga Therapy path, wherein you take the teacher training and then go into the career or even as a volunteer if you're interested in becoming a yoga therapist. And the third one would be, you still want to do yoga teacher training, which would be a shorter course, but then after that, Diploma would be a very long and also arduous course. So you want to probably just stick to some foundation course for yoga therapy. So people do that also. They take teacher training and then they take some aspects of therapy and they continue being a yoga teacher. So all these paths exist. So many people would like to just stick to self-development. At Yoga Bharati, we have many people who come to us regularly and keep repeating these courses, in fact, and they enjoy taking these classes. And because yoga is all about repeating, coming back to the same knowledge. So for beginners, learn how to incorporate yoga and therapy into your daily life. For health professionals and researchers, this is a path you're looking to supplement in your practice or work. So it's a introduction to holistic yoga, as we said. Again, it's a 2-credit course offered in fall and prerequisite for all the other yoga courses. From there, the usual path that we talked about previously is just elaborated here. And Yoga Foundation for Holistic Health is a practical hands-on training in a retreat setting or a classroom setting with online sessions as a supplement sessions. Foundation for Holistic Therapeutic Yoga is also a practical hands-on experience training in a classroom setting or a retreat setting with online sessions. So this is one self-development path. And the teacher training path, again, you start with the holistic introduction to holistic yoga. From there, you go on to foundation and teaching methodology for holistic yoga, which is a practical hands-on session in a retreat setting. And then you take up holistic yoga teacher training internship and practicum, which is usually guided by a mentor with a hands-on experience in places where we have Yoga Bharati or Vyasa centers or mentors. We connect you with them so that you attend mock class. You first of all attend their classes, you give us mock classes to the mentor, and then we review those classes and give you feedback. We prepare you to be a teacher. And Diploma in Yoga Therapy, this is the longest course that you would be doing, which is more than a 2-year course. You start with Introduction to Holistic Yoga, which is again the same course that we talked about. Then from there, you take up Holistic Yoga Teacher Training. If you already are a teacher or you would like to just supplement your course, you supplement therapy to your course, you can still take up Diploma in Yoga Therapy. It's a whole range of courses over a period of 2 years, given in a very nice quarterly basis. As much as you can chew, you can take up and eventually get the diploma in yoga therapy. I would like to stop with this big picture, which is going to get quite confusing and quite scary, but it's not. If you simply every quarter take 3 to 4 units, probably in about 2.5 years, you'll probably become have a certification in Diploma in Yoga Therapy. This is the goal we have. But at this point, we will stick to the course. And I'll stop here.
So, Ashwini-ji, can you stop sharing and I'll invite questions.
Sure.
Kindly stop sharing so we can see people.
I'm trying to see.
What happened to the volume? It's so low.
It's fine for me. Okay. So let me open up the webinar for questions. So kindly type in a question on the chat window, please. Okay, if you have a question. All right, Jacqueline's asking a question. Ashwini-ji, can you see this question? Yeah.
How do you teach yoga to students who follow monotheistic religion? How can a Muslim, Jew, Christian practice authentic spiritual yoga while still being true to their faith? I would like to answer this, quote the answer of Swami Vivekananda to this question. Swami Vivekananda said, if you take up yoga and you are a Muslim, you'll be a better Muslim. If you take up yoga and you're a Jew, you'll be a better Jew and better Christian. So yoga is not against any particular path of worship. You can, it's what I like to call it, it's a plug and play technology where you follow whatever path you're following. It's a path of bhakti, and to that you add any and every technique of yoga and concept of yoga and philosophy of yoga. It is completely complementary. It doesn't conflict with any religion per se. But if Raghuramji has anything to add, I would like to invite him.
Yeah, yoga is a science which has come for the last 10,000 years. The word religion itself is born about 1,700, 800 years ago. So therefore, all these divisions that are there is only in the last about 1,500 years, 700 years. So what yoga teaches is a way of life. It is a way that can be applied to Like the way that any professions that we are doing, it can add to that. The same way, like Ashwini said, that it can, whatever the faith and the religion that we follow, it can add on to that to see that you are a better Hindu, a better Jewish, and all that kind of thing. It can happen in the sense that you are holistically, your whole mind, emotion, whole total personality is dedicated to that kind of an activity. And that's what it has to be doing. Like if you are a Hindu, that whole personality is a Hindu. If you are a Muslim, the whole personality is dedicated to that Islamic idea. This is how it enhances one's function in that particular area.
Okay, next question. Yeah. Are all the courses online for the most part, Ashwiniji?
Introduction to Yoga is online. And then as far as yoga teacher training is concerned, we will be doing a retreat. And after that, we have online sessions. But the internship, you will have to be doing that pretty much in one of the centers or with one of the mentors that we connect with you. And as far as diploma in yoga therapy is concerned, that there are some retreat. First one will be a retreat, and then there's a whole bunch of online sessions, and then the last part again will be the internship retreat and things like that. So yoga cannot be taught. Everything in yoga cannot be taught online, but then quite significant amount of knowledge is given through online sessions.
Now, Ashwiniji, there's a question from Manjushri, which says, is the course starting after 1 year in winter of 2020? Well, winter of 2020 is just a month away, really. It starts on January 6th of the winter quarter begins January 6th, 2020. So we're quite close to the winter quarter. And the Introduction to Holistic Yoga course is actually going to be available in the winter quarter, starting the week of January 6th. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. So Sunil Prabha's question is, how do you see interactions happening? How are the classes conducted, the online sessions?
Yeah. So as we said, yoga, especially if we have to do anything deeper, which is what is going to be in yoga teacher training or yoga foundation for holistic health, those courses we will first be doing a retreat style class, and then we'll be going into the online sessions. Whereas in introduction to yoga, for the most part, we'll be doing shorter, smaller sessions. Mostly we will still be doing some practices, but it won't be so intense that you will have a problem following the instructions or the live video that's going on. And yes, there will be faculty to observe, and there will be a good amount of interaction in the course. 1/3 of the course will be an interactive session.
Any other questions? So Ashwiniji, I'm going to ask you a question.
Sure.
Can you speak to the accreditation of these courses? Who accredits them, and what's our current status?
So as far, I can talk only on behalf of Yoga Bharati here. And as far as Yoga Bharati is concerned, the teacher we have Yoga Alliance accreditation. So yoga teacher training will be RYT 200. And then we have Diploma in Yoga Therapy, which is accredited by International Association of Yoga Therapists. And we offer certificates that are accredited through these two bodies.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
How are the Yoga Bharati courses different from those offered by S-VYASA is the question.
Yeah.
We offer these courses, the most of the content that we get The concept-wise, they are Yoga Bharati, they are Vyasa content. But we have taken these for the last 19 years. We have been teaching these sessions in the US, and we have changed the manuals and the content to suit the American audience. And we bring sessions in a much more comprehensive manner as applicable to American audience. And also the language, the English, everything has been changed quite significantly. And also the way we teach and the exams we conduct and the quizzes and the oral exams, everything is a little more geared towards the American model of teaching. The accreditation helped us in bringing a very structured way of both delivering the class as well as in objectively assessment of the student. Yeah, we cannot give a certificate of realization to anybody, but then there is still enough we can do to get the quality assurance of the students that come out of Yoga Bharati training.
So there's a question from Vandana.
Why would already a yoga teacher do bridging course? Yeah. Why should one take the course Introduction to Yoga as a bridge? In fact, we would like to introduce our yoga teachers from different schools, including S-VYASA, to the same to the sessions that actually are done in a very systematic manner with assignments and with the journaling, all these different assignments and journaling as a methodology of learning. So you will really, first of all, the concept wise also, as far as concept is concerned, we bring it in a way that is suited to American audience with a much more practical application. And we ask you to do a certain set of practices and journal them and answer quizzes and so forth. That will actually help you to, first of all, get back in touch with the practices of yoga and the concepts that you probably are already practicing, but without indulging in them in such a systematic manner. So that is probably how we would like to look at them. And as we say in yoga, there is nothing like I once listened and I'm done. Like Raghuramji's Bhakti Yoga sessions, we have listened for the last 20 years, but each time, even next time in May when he comes, we know that we are going to sit down, listen, and we are going to cry. So the same set of sessions, we can listen to them with a newer experience, with a newer background, and yet, like they say, Bible, you read Bible 100th time and there is something new even each time, right? So that is the idea here. So it's not that people feel that it's a waste of time. It's not.
Yeah, I want to mark that we are at the top of the hour. There's one final question. What are the charges for the diploma in yoga therapy with its prerequisite?
Before that, there is a question. Can I start with taking the course for self-improvement and then realizing I want to get to diploma? Yes, that's possible. And we have those paths. People do that all the time. Now charges, Kalyanji.
Yeah, we can give you some approximate numbers. I think probably, we'll take that offline and speak to you in person, okay? We haven't entirely worked out the charges ourselves. So I think it's better to deal with it separately. And obviously, the very first step is to start with the introduction to holistic yoga. Okay, I think I want to acknowledge that we are past 1 minute past the hour. Where does one start? Shubha, you start by taking the Introduction to Holistic Yoga course. Okay, so that's the beginning course. And we're going to send you all a quick feedback survey, and if you fill it out, you'll get a link to the video recording of this webinar. I want to say thank you all for attending today and listening and participating. And we look forward to seeing you in the Introduction to Holistic Yoga course, which is a 2-credit-hour course, and it's being offered for a price of $300. It's on our website, and I request you all to kindly take a look at the course, and we'll be very happy to welcome you into the course in January. Thank you all very much. Namaste.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye bye.
Thank you, Kalyan. Thank you.